Hi viewers, today I'm with Depinder Chibber, a celebrity, today's celebrity. She's one of the contestants of Master Chef Australia 2021. Thank you Depinder for giving us time and coming all the way from Epping to Western Sydney. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Congratulations Depinder for the huge amount of support and love you're receiving not only from Australia but also India. How does it feel and did you expect it?
It feels unreal, and it feels like, maybe I don't deserve this much love and support, but I think it's a blessing at the moment, especially, given the conditions in the world. I didn't expect it at all because I went in with very low expectations. I didn't think I would even get through the producer audition rounds. So the application and all the audition rounds took a few months, actually, a couple of months at least. So I didn't think I would get a white apron. But when I did, it was, again, I took it as a blessing. So this love and support that I'm getting from all around the world, especially in India, it's just, I think it's invaluable. I don't think I can measure it or even express how overwhelmed I'm feeling.
Can you recall the circumstances that led you to be selected for Master Chef Australia?
I think the selection was in control of the judges and and MasterChef, their production team. But what led me to apply to MasterChef was basically, I think, COVID. I've been, filling out the application form for the last 3 consecutive years, and I've never actually had enough, courage to just submit it because I was like, it's just too hard. I can't do this. I'm a home cook. I make Indian food at home. I make cakes. How is this going to be enough for me to last on a show like MasterChef, which is one of the most difficult competitions around the world? And I think COVID just kind of made me feel like it was now or never. There is so much going on in the world. If I hadn't applied last year, I don't think I would have done it again because it just felt like it was the right time to do it.
Who was the first person you informed as soon as you were selected?
As soon as I got selected, I got my white apron. I think I called my husband, who was the first person. It was his birthday that day, and he woke up. I woke him up from deep sleep, and I told him I got the white apron, and he was just he couldn't have been happier for me because I think I wouldn't have done this show without his support. Because staying away from him for that long, you can only do it if there's positive energy coming towards you. So it was very difficult, but I don't think I would have done it without his support. So he was the first person to find out.
Any fond memories from the show?
So many memories over the last few months. This show is just amazing. There was memories on camera as well as behind the scenes. I won't share too much from behind the scenes, but on camera we did, one of the community cooks was a fire challenge. And that was a night shoot. So it was like an overnight shoot. And that was, I think, one of the best experiences I've had. Not just because I happened to win immunity that day, but also just the experience working with open fire, which I was so underconfident with. But I think it was just, immunity challenge is just fun. So and I think all immunity challenges are good, but this one especially because it was a night shoot. We had a lot of fun amongst all the contestants. The vibe and the decoration and the way the setup was done was just fantastic.
Speaking about the food, tell us about the spectrum of your specialty. North or south, vegetarian or non-vegetarian, snacks or mains. What are some of your favorites?
I don't think there is any food or any cuisine that I really don't like. When it comes to Indian cuisine, I love Indian food, and I aspire to kind of learn about every single region and its cuisine, be it north, east, west or south. Growing up, we used to go to a restaurant called Sagar in Delhi, which was
very popular.
One of the best, isn't it? Yeah. So we used to go at least once a week. I used to go there with my parents, and I was very little, but I always wanted to get a thali on my own. And my mom's like, I'll share it with you. I was like, no, I'm gonna eat it. And I still salivate over that taste. And I haven't found it in Sydney yet. But that's something that exposed me to South Indian food at a very young age. And then we went to Narula's in Delhi. There's so many other restaurants, Indian Chinese restaurants that we went to. And Indian Chinese is some of my favorite street food as well as my favorite cuisine. I was lucky enough to have my grandparents and my mum, who was actually from Gujarat. So we went there every year, sometimes twice a year, and we had a lot of like home-style Gujarati food, as well as the snacks. And that is a whole, that's a different cuisine in itself. So I learned a lot about that. Actually, recently, my last trip to India, my husband and I traveled to Kerala together. So we got exposed to some of the most authentic, Malayali food that I have ever tasted, and it's just delicious.
Did you try an appam and this too?
Yeah, I tried appam and stew. One of my aunts is actually Malayali as well, so she made it for us back in Singapore a few years ago. But this was like super, super authentic. And we went and stayed on a houseboat, and I actually spent a lot of time hanging out with the chef out the back because I just wanted to know how he's doing, what he's doing, because it's amazing.
Did you buy fish, fresh fish?
Yes, yeah, we bought shellfish, we bought crabs, we bought fish, we got so much stuff, lobster as well. Food that we couldn't even finish, but it was there.
That quarters is really nice.
Yeah.
Is there any recipe you have adopted from streets of Delhi, where you are originally from?
I think that's something that inspires me every day, the streets of Delhi. And that's something that I want to replicate and serve when I'm serving food to people. From like golgappe to chaat to raj kachori to even momos and dahi bhalle and just name it, like chow mein, like whatever I've grown up eating, I replicate that at home. I try and make these things at home at least once a week, and I absolutely love street food. And it could be even like the roadside jalebi. It doesn't have to be something too complex. Something that I'm trying to master for a very long time, but I haven't been able to, is aloo chaat. So we actually used to go to this place, and it was walking distance from our house, and my mom and dad used to take us, and it's aloo and shakardandi, that chaat, and it's just the best thing ever. And I'm trying to replicate it, and I've tried so many recipes, so many different ways. It tastes really good, but it's not that what I had when I was a kid, because I still know the taste of it.
It's the chaat masala they make.
It's
the
secret recipe that I don't have, unfortunately.
Because one of the best food that chaat is on jab.
Oh yes, I've had that too.
That's the best.
Yes.
Your interest lies in baking and dessert. Tell us what it is about that fascinates so much about baking and desserts.
I've been baking and making desserts out of curiosity to begin with. I started baking at home when I was in high school because I just liked eating cakes. My mum used to make birthday cakes for me when I was very young, and she used to have a massive aluminium round oven at home, and she used to make it, and she still got it. But now we've got our easy domestic ovens that we use. So that inspired me, and I don't think any cake tastes better than a homemade butter cake. Like just a simple vanilla butter cake, it's delicious, and the aroma of it just spreads across the whole house, and it just smells amazing. Desserts growing up kind of turned into a creative outlet for me because I loved art and craft. So when I started working full time, I needed a hobby. I definitely needed something that I can come back and do just to relax my mind, and I found it quite therapeutic. So I started making cupcakes, and I met my husband at the time when I just started working as a pharmacist, and I used to make him cupcakes, as like, an expression of love or care. He kind of encouraged me to make them too. He's like, oh, that was good what you made last week, can you make some more? So every time I used to meet him, I used to make cupcakes or a cake or something for him. And now it's just become like a very, very, very strong passion of mine, and I like experimenting different techniques. I even tried to do a lot of French style desserts, which I would have never imagined doing before, but it's just trial and error, and you just keep going, and you keep imagining different things, imagining different flavor combinations, and you just, only way to find out is to try.
How do you make your unique recipes? Who provides feedback? Of course your husband does, but anyone else?
So I live with my husband's family, so they're quite critical of food, and they in a good way because they want me to do better. So I make it for them at home. Unique recipes come from researching and different flavor combinations that aren't so common. For example, the wasabi ice cream that I made with lemon curd. I've never actually made wasabi ice cream before, but I've tried different unique flavored ice creams before. So that kind of encouraged me and gave me that confidence that if I can make an ice cream out of that, I can make an ice cream out of wasabi. For example, the Kaju ice cream that I made with Kibber. If I can do something
How
like
did you
that.
get the flavor of garlic and gajrela into?
Oh, that was interesting because the first couple of times I made it, it was quite icy because you have to get the ratios of, like in an ice cream, the ratios of your carrots versus your milk and cream, your egg yolks and your sugar has to be perfect. Otherwise, it can be quite icy. So the first couple of times I made it, it wasn't the best, and I just kept trying. And then I realized, I'm like, why don't I fry the grated carrots in like ghee before adding them to my actual ice cream mixture, like the ice cream base. And I did that, and I crushed it. So I almost turned it into a puree. And when I mixed that with that, it tasted amazing. And it actually tasted like a gajrela, but you also had like, your hard spices like green cardamom and a little bit of, salt or whatever spice you want to add. You always have to add that too. So it's literally an ice cream, but it tastes like gajrela. So I think when it comes to fusion or like unique recipes, it's just experimenting, trial and error. And like I said, you don't know until you try it and you taste it. That's the only way to find out.
Flying Haver is a difficult soup to make.
Kheer was an interesting one because I've never tasted kheer in India. I've seen it, I've seen people selling it, but as a kid, it's not something that caught my eye. My favorite mithai of all times was Kaju. I can even eat it now, like I can just eat it with my eyes closed and I can polish a whole pack. That burfi is the best. For all the viewers, I'm sure everyone loves it, but so I used to always get attracted to that. And Kaju pistachio, that was my favorite. So I never really looked at other, sweets. So when I started looking in kheer, I'm like, this looks fantastic. Imagine if I can make this at home. And I researched how it should be served. It's served, alongside rabri, with or without rabri, dipped in sugar syrup like chashni, and you can have any topping. You can have nuts, you can have verk, which is a silver leaf, or you can have anything you want. So I experimented with a few things, and then I said to myself, I need to, just elevate this dessert a little bit more, but keep it in the Indian flavor domain. So that's why I added the Kaju halwa ice cream to it.
It's a good twist.
Exactly,
Very good
and surprisingly, it's not too sweet because Indian desserts are notoriously known for being too sweet. And I think if balanced correctly, they're actually not too bad. And the way I balanced this was with the ice cream, so it wasn't too sweet.
Tell us about how your recipe catered to those who watch their weight and energy levels. Do you calibrate your recipes for calories, fat, protein, and sugar? How do you rate your recipe on those counts?
To be honest, I haven't calibrated my recipes to suit a calorie count or sugarless or gluten-free, those kind of things on purpose. But when you think about dietary requirements and people making food, Indian cuisine just happens to fit in really nicely. It's an amazing cuisine for vegetarians because there's so many options. It's an amazing cuisine for gluten-free people because we have besan.
Yes.
You can do anything with besan. You can make a rotla or a roti or even a chila. You can make so many things with besan. You don't actually need to use flour or wheat flour. And
even bajra is
exactly. There's finger millet, red millet, ragi. There's so many flours. The spectrum is just so huge, and we actually make them at home every now and then. Then you've got tapioca, you've got sabudana that you can use. So I think culturally we're quite blessed because there is a lot that you can do. And simple Indian food like a dal, sabzi, roti can be made without a drop of oil or calories. So it's just a blessing.
Could you tell us more about your international fusion recipe you might have tried? What was the outcome?
I haven't tried too many international fusion recipes on the show. I think the only one that I've tried so far is the green curry cake. And that was a big gamble for me. So I've made it at home once before, and it was during my time at MasterChef, and I was experimenting with recipes. And it tasted, like I always say this on the show, that it actually tasted good to me. But I haven't given it to the judges yet. So if I think it's okay, it might be okay, but I didn't make it with a coconut ice cream. That was, I think, when we got the challenge. I was like, that's the first thing that came to my mind when I saw the onion. Because you actually can't make a curry without an onion. I mean, you can, but onion gives the gravy, you know, it's texture, it's volume, the way it looks, it's the onion, you know, and it could be different forms. It could be sliced onion, it could be fried, turned into a paste, it could be so many things that you can do with onion. So I thought I'm gonna go green curry route and try this, you know, this cake. And I was scared to make it for Mel because she knows what a green curry would taste like, a really good one. And same goes for the rest of the judges as well. And then I decided to serve it with a coconut ice cream and a coconut crumb. And the white chocolate chili ganache was, again, a last minute addition because I just looked at the dish and it looked incomplete to me. And I was like, I need to add something more to it. So I think that's been my only international fusion dish that I've made so far on the show. And, you know, thankfully it was a great success. So fingers crossed, if there is any more to come, there'll also be a success.
Is Thai food your next favorite?
I love Thai food. I absolutely love Thai food. And I think I like it so much because it's just a massive flavor bomb in itself. There is so much flavor, and that's the kind of food I love to eat. I love to eat food that is packed full of flavor and it just explodes in your mouth. And that's something that Thai food does.
What are your post-mastership ambitions? What do you want to do after this?
There is a lot that I would want to do. You know, being on a platform like MasterChef Australia has been such a privilege, and I want to use that to help make Indian cuisine more mainstream and, you know, have its own space and its own, you know, identity in the Australian food industry as well as all around the world. I get inspired by UK. You must know, like, it's so popular in UK, and I know it's because, you know, the migration of the Indian population in the UK happened like over 100 years ago. And we haven't had that in Australia yet. So when I go to London or when I go to the UK and I see how popular Indian cuisine is, and I've had some of the best Indian food in London, surprisingly.
People say that.
And I came back and I said it to my dad, and he's like, I do not believe this. I'm like, trust me, I had a butter chicken there and it's better than the butter chicken in India. And I'm not saying this because, you know, just because, but it's so true. The variety, the knowledge of like local people about Indian food, it's just so, it's more than I even knew at the time. So I want to see that in Australia. And I think I would love to write a cookbook for, you know, amateur home cooks who are intimidated by Indian flavors because they're too scared to use spices, or, you know, they don't know how to balance those flavors. So an education platform for them as a cookbook would be wonderful. And I would love to open a restaurant eventually. Yeah.
Fusion or authentic?
I think I will go with authentic, but I would give it my twist. When I think of fusion, it could be, you know, fusion's not necessarily, you know, making it Indo-Western. Fusion could be using Australian produce, but using Indian flavors. To me, that is fusion. And I feel like everyone that lives in Australia, they kind of, even at home, they kind of do fusion cooking anyway, because we get different ingredients here sometimes to what we get in India. So we have to adapt to that as well. So that can also be a form of fusion. So that's the kind of vibe that I'm going for.
Looking forward to, I'll be the first customer to come and eat there.
I hope so.
Because I'm a foodie, by the way. So
That's excellent.
being a pharmacist, how are you planning to balance your work and culinary skills?
I think once a pharmacist, always a pharmacist. I can never stop thinking like a pharmacist. I think that will always be ingrained in my blood. My dad is a pharmacist too. I come from a family that is full of health professionals, including my brother and my husband as well. So it's just all around me. So I can't shake it off, even if I want to. I'll continue to work as a pharmacist just to keep updated, you know, with what's going on in the clinical world. But food is where my passion lies. So that's where I really want to, you know, take it to the next level, especially after being on MasterChef.
Message for people waiting to be a part of MasterChef Australia in coming seasons.
Absolutely. I mean, guys, if you want to go on MasterChef, it's an absolute life-changing experience. There is never going to be a better time, so you're just going to have to pick up that courage and just go for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Depinder, for your time, and thank you for traveling from all the way from India to the Western Sydney studios, French studios, and this is my second interview in this new studio, French studio. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Australia's first Indian magazine to have a national reach. Indus Age is the largest circulated South Asian magazine in Australia with 5 simultaneous editions. 55,000 copies printed monthly. 220,000 readers. Largest network of clients. Undisputed leader in community news. Indus Age is circulated in Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Brisbane and Perth to over 525 outlets. Grab your copy now to get the latest on the community, news from India, Bollywood, music and much more. For more info, log on to www.indusage.com.au.